Hello everybody, it's me, Miss Lisa, and welcome to Stitch Kids. The project we are going to begin today is a cozy koala pillow, which is made from fleece, felt, and polyfiber fill stuffing. To complete this project, you will need a craft kit from the South Huntington Public Library. Your craft kit includes a 2-page pattern that looks like this, an assortment of fabric. One set may be dark gray fleece with black felt and white felt on the inside, or you may choose a kit to make a white koala that includes white fleece, black felt, and light gray felt. Your kit will also include gray thread and black embroidery thread, and of course a pile of polyfiber fill stuffing. You will need to provide a pair of scissors, a tube of glue or a hot glue gun, and your sewing kit, which includes your pins, needles, and needle threader. All right, let's get started. Before you begin, you will need to prepare your pattern. Your pattern is on 2 sheets of paper and looks like this. You can see it contains many different pieces. Cut each piece out by following the outside of the dark black line so that all of your pieces look like this. And when you are finished, we will pin the pattern pieces to the fabric. Working with a number of different pieces of a pattern can be a little tricky, especially when you have different pieces that are going to be different colors of fabric. So we'll go through this together, starting with the koala head. The koala head, you'll notice, says cut 2. You're going to need 2 pieces of this shape. And this is going to be cut out of the big piece of fleece. So you may be working with the gray fleece, or you may be working with the white fleece. So you'll want to arrange this to maximize your fabric by pinning it as close to the edge as possible. I'm going to cut 1 piece at a time. So let me just pin this down quick. And you'll notice at the bottom of the pattern it says leave open for stuffing. We need to remember that later when we are pinning all of the pieces together before we start stitching. Okay, there's 1 piece of the koala head which goes on your big piece of fleece. You have 2 different pieces of koala ears, an inner ear and an outer ear. The outer ear is going to be cut from the gray fleece as well, and you'll need 2 of these. So we're going to pin this as close to the circle as possible so we can maximize our fabric. And get all of the pieces we need out of the small piece of fabric that we have. The ear will be made from the gray or the white fleece depending on which kit you have picked up. Koala nose. Cut 1, it says. The koala's nose is going to be black, so that's where your piece of black felt will come in. You'll do the same thing with the nose. Pin it as close to the edges as you can, leaving a little bit more of the felt off to the side. You'll be using that felt to make eyes and a mouth. All right, and now for the inner ear. If you have a kit with dark gray fleece, the inner ear will be made of white felt. If you have a kit with white fleece, the inner ear will be made from gray felt, and you will need 2 pieces of inner ear. So we'll do what we've been doing before. We'll pin our first piece as close to the edge as possible. Make it as secure as you can with your pins. And now you are ready to cut. When cutting your pieces, stay as close to the black line as possible. And you can use your fingers to keep the fabric flat as well. Go slow and take your time. Trying not to cut the pattern as you go. And we'll go around the last part of the ear. Okay. There we go. There's the first piece of inner ear. Now you can remove the pattern, set the inner ear piece aside, repin it, and cut again. Like that. So follow the instructions for cutting all of the pieces, paying attention to the number of pieces that you need, and we'll come back and put the pieces together. I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, when all of your pieces are cut out, you should have 2 inner ear pieces, 2 outer ear pieces, 2 pieces for the head, and 1 koala nose. Now it's time to assemble some of these pieces before we start stitching the entire pillow. So let's start with the koala's face. You already have a nose, and you should have an extra piece of black felt that you can use for some eyes. So just cut some circles out of your black felt. They can be as big or as small as you would like them to be. And place them on the face. We'll get all of the elements of the face arranged, and then we will go about assembling them. Okay. There's 2 eyes. They're about the same size. It looks pretty good. And then if you would like to make a little mouth, you can use your black felt for that also. I think I'd like to make a little smile. For my koala. That looks cute. Okay. All right. So there are the elements of his face. Let's remove the eyes and the mouth for now, and take a pin from your pin pal and pin the nose in place. Pinning the nose in place on just one piece of the face fabric. You'll see I'm not pinning all the way through. I'm securing the nose on one piece. What we're going to do is sew around the outside of the nose, starting a little bit close to the top, going all the way around, and leaving a little opening at the top. You'll see that his nose has a little bit of dimension to it. That's because I stuffed it with a little bit of polyfiberfill before finishing the stitches. So you're welcome to do that, or you can just glue the nose down. But let's go ahead and give him a nice bumpy nose. For this, you will need a needle with a large eye. You'll need your needle threader. Mine is stuck in the pin pal. There we go. You'll need your needle threader. And you'll need a piece of black embroidery thread, which was included in your kit. So use the needle threader by putting the wire through the eye of the needle. Put the thread through the wire and give it a pull. So you have a little tail that sticks out. Smooth this out a little bit. There's your tail. And then at the other end, let's tie a double knot. There's one knot, and wrap it around your finger. Push the end through to make a double knot. Now, starting from the back, push through the fleece and the black felt. Pull. And then put the needle in through just the gray felt, like this. You're kind of making a whip stitch to secure the nose to the face. Don't pull too tight or the nose will pucker. And then continue keeping your stitches somewhat close together. Up through the fleece and the black. There's a piece of fuzz there. And then down through the fleece. And continue like this until you get to right about here. If you need to, you can mark it with one of the pins from your kit. Just insert a second pin with the head, marking the spot where you would like to stop. Okay, I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, when you've finished stitching, you can leave the thread on your needle and very carefully pin it through the side of his head so you don't lose track of it while you are stuffing the nose. We can remove the pins from the nose, and there should be a little opening here at the top of the nose, very small one. Now, take a little bit of your polyfiber fill stuffing and kind of wad it up into a little ball, and if you can, very carefully use your finger to push it into the nose and push it all the way down to the bottom. There we go. So you can see how it looks a little bit bumpy. Take another small piece. If there's still room in there, you can add this small piece too. Okay. Might have too much, I don't know. Oh, nope, just right. Okay, that looks good. Now, take your needle out and push the felt down toward the fleece. You can hold this with your thumb, going from the back through the fleece and the felt, up, and then down through just the fleece to make a whip stitch. And we'll continue until the opening is closed. Looks like it's just going to be maybe 5 or 6 stitches to seal up the nose. Don't worry if this seems like it's very slow going, just take your time. There's no need to rush. Okay, looks like maybe 2 more stitches here. 1. And 2. To keep the stuffing inside the nose. Okay, there we go. Nice and bumpy. Now turn the head over, find the last stitch, put your needle under the stitch, pull, leaving a little loop, put the needle through and make a knot. And let's do it one more time just to be safe. There we go. And you can trim the thread, set your needle aside, put it back in the pin pal. Okay, now your koala has a nose. Now it's time to add eyes and a mouth. And this is where your glue comes in. So you'll simply add some glue to the remaining pieces and press the felt to the fleece so it sticks. There we go. There's one eye. And another eye. And a mouth. There we go. Okay. We'll just let that dry, but we won't set this aside quite yet. We're going to need to look at the face to decide how you want the ears to look. So let's start with the outer ear, which might be dark gray or white, depending on which kit you received. Open them up and set them on the sides of the face. You'll see that the ears have a long, I guess, furry part at the top and then a small furry part at the bottom. The long furry part is supposed to be at the top of the ear. So just make sure that's how it looks on both sides. And you kind of have the same situation with the inner ear. You have a long furry part at the top and a short furry part at the bottom. You want to match up, if you can, the long furry parts, the short furry parts, the long furry parts, and the short furry parts. And just set the white pieces on there for now. Okay, you're going to use your glue to secure the white part of the ear to the outer ear. If you're using a white kit, this inner ear piece will be gray. So once you have them where you would like them, just add some glue around the outside. You do not need to add any glue along this flat part here. That part is going to be sewn into the pillow, so there's no need to glue it. But you do want to glue the rest of the ear so it stays secure. There we go. Put the glue all the way around the outside of the white part, leaving the flat part without glue. And then you can secure that to the ear. Okay. Now before we do the next steps, let's give the face and the ears about 20 minutes to dry, and then we can prepare for stitching. So I'll see you in a while. To make a koala pillow, we're going to stitch all of the koala pieces together and then turn the project inside out before we put the stuffing in. So when we do a project like that, anything that we want to show on the outside needs to be on the inside when we are stitching. So the face will be on the inside and the ears will be on the inside. So carefully lay your ears across the face, making sure that the white or the light gray is lined up with the fleece. Do the same on this side, making sure that the inner ear piece is lined up with the piece of fleece that makes the head. You might have some that's hanging over. That's okay. Don't worry about that right now. Okay. It looks a little silly, but it will work out, I promise you. Take the other piece of the fleece used for the head and lay it on top of everything like you're making a sandwich. Now, this is going to be a little bit tricky to secure all of these pieces of fabric together. So you will probably need a grown-up to help you. Pick everything up and pinch it. Push the pin through and then back through all of the layers to hold them all in place. And we'll do the same on the other side. You find a big pin. There we go. See all of the different layers? Put your pin all the way through and come back up the other side to secure everything in place. Now you can go around the koala's head. May need to redo this piece. Let's hold off on that one. Okay. Now you go around the koala's head with your pins, securing the pieces of the head together as best you can. Getting them to line up as best you can, I should say. Take your time, and also if you need a grown-up to help you, don't be afraid to ask. Sometimes you need to have an extra pair of hands to get this right. Okay, now I'm going to repin all of these layers. I'm trying to keep the fabric on the head as even as possible. Okay, so I have now pinned from one ear to the next. Remember, our koala head has a pattern that says leave open for stuffing. So there's 2 marks there where we need to start and stop sewing. Let's take 2 pins and make them perpendicular. You may remember that from the snowman, to the edges of your fabric, and this will tell you where to start and where to stop sewing. There we go. That should be good. Okay, now you'll see that we have some pieces of ear that are kind of just hanging out here. It might make it a little difficult to sew. So take your scissors and trim that fabric down so that it's even with the head, like that. And do it on the other side too. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, now we can't see any face, we can't see any ears. That's a good sign. That means when we turn this inside out, everything will look like it's supposed to. So let's get started with the stitching. Okay, for stitching, you will need your gray thread, and you can cut a piece of gray thread from your spool in your kit. Like that. You may choose to use a needle with a smaller eye if you have one in your kit. If you don't, you can use the needle with the larger eye. That's okay. Let's use the needle threader to get the thread through the eye of the needle. Just like that. Okay. Put that aside. Now we're going to double up the thread. So that means matching the 2 ends of the thread and making a knot. Making a knot or 2. I like double knots, so I'm going to make 2 knots. There we go. Okay. You'll get started at one of the pins, and you're just going to use a simple whip stitch to go all the way around the outside of the head. Come in about 1/4 of an inch. That's about how long the nail is on your pinky finger. Go over the outside and come back up near where you started, but not too close and not too far. You do want to keep your stitches somewhat close together so the stuffing stays inside your koala. And you will just continue all the way around until you get to the other perpendicular pin on the other side. So this could take some time. Don't rush. The most important thing is to remember to keep all of your pieces of fabric together so you can pinch everything as you're sewing. And also keep in mind that once you get to the ears, it could be a little slow going because you've got to poke through 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 pieces of fabric to attach the ear to your koala. So if it's too tough, you could get a grown-up to help you push the needle through, but so far it seems like the fleece is smooth enough to let the needle go through without too much trouble. There we go. Okay. Keep an eye on where the needle goes in and where the needle comes out, making sure that you're grabbing all the pieces of fabric with your stitch. All right. And of course, when you get low on thread, don't let your thread get too small. Pay attention while you're stitching to the length of this thread attached to your needle. You want to be sure that you leave enough thread to make a knot to tie off before adding more thread to your needle. So I'll show you what I mean. Still going right through the ear. Kind of looks like a sandwich. It is, actually, it's a fleece and felt sandwich. Okay, I'm going to stop right about there. I'm going to put the needle through the last stitch. There's a loop of thread. Put the needle through the loop and pull, and do it one more time just to be safe. You can see how it's a little tough. I left just barely enough thread on there for myself. You might want to leave a little more to make it easier. Okay, then go ahead and trim that. Add another piece of thread to your needle and continue all the way around to the next perpendicular pin. Relax and have fun. When you've reached the other perpendicular pin, you can tie off. So put the needle through the last stitch, make a loop, put the needle through the loop and pull, and then let's do that one more time just to be safe. There we go. And trim the thread. For now, let's put the needle back into PinPal and remove any pins that are still in the koala's head. Okay, that looks good. Trim that little bit of thread. Okay, now we're ready to turn him inside out. So this is pretty easy. Open up the opening and push the inside out. You can give his ears a gentle tug and use your fingers to go around the seams to smooth everything out before adding the stuffing. He looks pretty good. Cute. Okay, that's what he looks like so far. Now he's ready for some stuffing. So grab a handful of the polyfiber fill, push it up toward the top of the head, and then just keep stuffing until the head is nice and round. There we go. I'm going to add a little more down here in this part by his ear. Looks like it could use a little more fluffing up. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, that looks pretty good. So some of the stuffing is kind of poking out. Don't worry about that. Now the tricky part is preparing this open edge for sewing. So we need to fold as best we can a little bit of the fleece so we don't see that raw edge of the fabric. I think what we'll do this time is we'll pinch a little bit, sew, and then pinch, and then sew again. So I'm going to pinch, use the pin to hold it, and use a very, very loose stitch to sew this outside opening together. I think I'm going to add more thread to my needle before I get started. That way I don't have to stop and add thread halfway through this part, because this part is so tricky. I don't want to have to think about anything else besides sewing up the opening. Okay, thank you, Koala, for holding that for me. I'm going to use the needle threader. I can see. There we go. And remember, we're going to double up the thread by matching up the ends. Let's see, pull them together. There we go. And make a double knot. Boy, this thread is slippery. There's one knot, and another knot. Okay, here we go. This is not my favorite part, but it's important. You don't want the stuffing to come out of your koala. So we're going to try to, as carefully as we can, stitch these folds together. Using a whip stitch, grabbing a little bit of the fleece on both sides and pulling. We're attempting to do a hidden stitch. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We'll do the best we can. All right, I think I'm going to move this pin out of the way, and I think I'm just going to hold this with my fingers as I go. I'm a little concerned with using the pins because we might fold too much fabric, and then we might end up with a koala that looks a little square, which would be kind of interesting, but not really what we're going for. Oops. So better, whoop, I just lost an eye. Oh no. Okay, we'll have to go back and fix. Maybe it would be better to pay attention to where our thread goes before finishing the stitch. Okay, so I'm going to fold and stitch. So this is very slow going. Don't worry if it seems to take a long time. But do your best and continue all the way over to the other side. folding and holding with your hands and then stitching. All right. So when you are finished stitching up the opening at the bottom, tie it off with a double knot at the other side. Okay, take your time and have fun. Okay, when you're finished stitching and you've trimmed your extra thread and put your needle back in your pin pal, you can fluff up your koala, kind of moving the fiber fill around with your fingers if you need to, if he seems like he's a little lumpy in some spots. I think that looks good. Now, it seems like my koala lost his eyes while I was stitching, and I think I know why, because I didn't let the glue dry. So I'm going to add his eyes again. And this time I'm going to let him sit before moving him around. There we go. Okay. And he's got nice bendy ears. He's so cute. I bet yours is cute too. You'll have to send me a picture when you're finished. All right. Thank you everybody for sewing with me, and I hope I'll see you again soon. Take care.